Rogue 2.0 is here, and it's faster, deadlier, and just as tanky as before. This build melts Uber Dorial, Uber Lilith, and you can even carry all of your friends, players 4, if you want to. And look at the goodies you can find. It's been a wild couple of days, and with all the changes that are happening to the damage calculations in Diablo 4 and the Rogue class specifically, we've been left wondering what is the new best way to build your Rogue. And what I have for you is what I call the Rogue 2.0. It clears Uber Dorial in 3 or 4 seconds, Lilith in 5 seconds, and you can see here I full cleared a Nightmare 100 dungeon in just about 3 minutes. You could even rush right to the end and do it in under a minute with this build. It has extremely strong single target DPS, AoE DPS. It is very tanky with nearly 14k armor, attack power upwards of 25,000, and the damage ticks are just insane. So I'm going to go over a bit of the gear. The big changes now are we're moving all of that core damage and cutthroat damage, which includes some glyphs, some Paragon points, and gear around to facilitate the new damage types, and this is what we are left with. So this is going to be a Season 2 build. I will have in the description a link to what an Eternal version of this would look like, but for now, here's what we have. On our bow, we're running Accelerating, and the all stats, dexterity, damage to close, and damage to crowd control are going to be our new best 4 out of 4. I'm going to have a spreadsheet listed with all of my ideal affixes for this build, and it also has, in addition to what I think are the ideal affixes, some other really great affixes to have. So you don't have to be worried about just getting 4 out of 4. This build is so strong, it really doesn't matter. If you have 3 out of 4, or if you have 4 that are just okay, it doesn't need to be perfect 4 out of 4 for the build to function. Accelerating on the crossbow, we're using amethysts for damage over time. The dagger that we're using is going to be something that looks like this: dexterity, close, crowd control. Really ideally you want all attributes here. The planner has all of the ideal affixes on it. And then here I'm running Blade Dancers and Pestilent points, X-Falls Carotid Signet for your AoE damage. It also gives great damage over time, lucky hit, cooldown, really nice affixes, but we really want it for that unique affix, which is going to give us AoE damage. So all of you on Eternal and Seasonal that were missing the Barber from Season 1, this is how you're going to replicate that AoE damage on a damage over time poison build. The best of both worlds. You have the insane single target while getting a nice AoE damage. Bursting Venoms, of course, this is going to be for uptime on your poison imbuement, so that combined with Pestilent points is how you're going to keep Bursting Venoms up. Then Corruption is going to be on our amulet. This is just huge damage from our imbuments, and you can see we're using exploit, all imbue, movement speed. Movement speed is pretty important on the amulet. I'll go into that in a bit. But these are some of the ideal affixes to have. Now, it's not, my gear's not perfect. It's only been a week, not even. And I just had to redo everything for the changes to core and cutthroat. So I'm putting together the gear that I have. The planner is going to have everything that's ideal, right? I'm going to explain to you why we want some of these in the video. So make sure that you listen along to that. But don't pay too close attention to exactly what I'm running. On my gloves, I have Intercom. This is because I haven't found an Ashira's yet, or I haven't found a decent enough one to replace, 920 items. When I get into Ashira's, Intercom is the first legendary aspect that I'm going to lose on this build when I get a decent Ashira's, but I don't have one yet. So Intercom right now on the gloves, the benefit of this is really insane single target damage for bosses, the end of the dungeons. Intercom is not a bad option to have here. So Penitent Greaves, really high movement speed, damage to chilled, which we get chilling application from the Penitent Greaves themselves. And then when bosses are staggered, they also are considered under the effect of all CC. So chill, frozen, all of that great stuff. We combine this with Frigid Finesse in our passive tree, which we'll go over in a bit. pants and your armor, this is going to be where you want to get your defense. So damage reduction, huge here. You see I've got nearly all damage reduction mods and armor. You need around 2 total armor mods in order to get your armor to a good place where your disobedience is going to get it to 1300 defense. So with 2 armor mods on your chest and your pants, it's pretty important to get those. You'll be just fine, more than enough armor to get over 13,000 for the Nightmare 100 dungeons. It'll be super easy. So the rest you can fill up with damage reduction mods, which are going to be really great for your effective life pool. Here we're running disobedience on the pants, might on the chest. So that's just 20% damage reduction. Really great here. I'm running 1 resistance here. So you're running cold res on your boots, and then you have 1 res that's not cold on your armor, and then you can make up for the rest of the res in your jewelry. So here you see I have lightning, shadow, and fire because I'm running poison res on my armor. If I were running lightning res on my armor, I'm going to run an emerald here, and then an amethyst, and then a ruby, or vice versa. Whichever resistance you're missing is what you're going to make up for on your jewelry, and the result will be this beautiful 70 max all res. That's what you want. And then for helm, I am using a Shaco. I was very lucky to have dropped this when I was helping some of our clanmates and people in the Discord clearing their Uber Durials. I'm going to be doing a bunch of Uber Durials on stream for people so that you all can get your Shaco as well. So come by, hang out, and we'll get you all a Harlequin Quest before the season's over. But if you don't have that, this is a great option. You'll want the Umbrus aspect on a helmet. And basically right now, this Umbrus is going to give you Dark Shroud. That's going to make it so that you have a ton of damage reduction. You get damage reduction from Shaco itself, so you really don't need Umbrus. Once you have the Shaco, it gives you pretty much permanent damage reduction, which is great. Plus all skills, great for damage. But if you don't have it, Umbrus is great so that you'll maintain your survivability. And you'll want it to look like a helm, sort of like this. You want poison imbuement, cooldown, stuff like max life is great, and armor, all that great jazz. We'll have alternates available for you. For the abilities, now this is where it's going to look a little bit different. You'll notice that I didn't get any crit chance in my build because this is a seasonal character and I don't really need to worry about healing, so I don't have any siphoning strike. Okay, Twisting Blades, of course, we're maxing out here. Shadow Step, we're getting the cooldown effect for Shadow Step so we can escape more often. Concussive and Trick Attacks, this is so we can constantly be knocking down, dazing, and doing some additional damage there. Poison Traps, I've actually gone with countering Poison Traps here. Your damage is so high, I rather get the chance to refresh my poison imbue cooldown than have honestly the 10 extra damage. Even though it's multiplicative, it's a great damage boost. Really, I'm finding that I'm just enjoying the play of countering Poison Trap more. Poison imbuement, enhanced, and then mixed poison imbuement. This is another change. Remember, we dumped all our crit chance. You still have enough crit chance to proc accelerating just fine, so you don't have to worry about accelerating, but you don't want to use blended poison imbuement anymore because you are going to we're using a lot more lucky hits, so now your lucky hits are going to apply double the poison instead of a crit applying 75%, right? Here, debilitating toxins for some extra damage reduction, more poison damage here. We grab a ton more lucky hit. Like, we're going all in on lucky hit, right? That's the name of the game. Lucky's the name of the game. So all of our lucky hit, we're gonna focus on here. We take Second Wind, Alchemist's Fortune, Innervation, come down to Haste, grab that, and then Close Quarters Combat. So this is going to be in combination with a lot of, you'll notice, damage to crowd control, which we get an 83% damage boost from close quarters combat as a result of all of the crowd control damage we have. So a lot of it was sort of, in the gear, but then a lot of it is also in the Paragon board, which we'll review now. So it looks similar to my last Paragon board, but I've removed all of the affixes that turned out weren't really doing anything in season 2. So this is for Eternal as well. You'll want to be using a similar Paragon board for Eternal as this. So it's going to be nearly identical. We're going up, we're grabbing our damage. All of these damage nodes are double additive damage for poison. Devious to boost up all of our magic nodes here. Then we come into our cheap shot board. We're grabbing the legendary node. We're putting Canny in here for some extra additive damage. We're coming down and grabbing this huge damage to healthy node. For poison, damage to healthy is so nice, especially for bosses. And 50% additive damage when all of your poison is getting front loaded onto the mob. I really like the damage to healthy there. Damage to crowd control. This is all helping our close quarters combat. And when something is crowd controlled, we're getting a little extra damage boost. We come up, grab a lot of damage reduction. Here, now we're putting in our Tricks of the Trade board. We're not grabbing Tricks of the Trade because it's still bugged for poison. It's not doing anything for us. So we're going to grab huge damage to elites here. Some great armor, and then we're putting in turf for damage to close. Damage to close is going to be a great additive bonus. Here we get more damage to close. Make sure you grab Brawler on your way up. And we're coming into the board I said I'd never use, Lyrana's Instinct, which actually now that we know that Core is not doing anything, Cutthroat's not doing anything, I was like, where else can we get damage, okay? And there's these great nodes here. Damage for 9 seconds after dodging an attack. Rogues have pretty good dodge just normally, thanks to all the dexterity that we put in. So we're dodging fairly often, and we're constantly going to be benefiting from these huge damage after dodge effects. These are, again, double additive for poison, which is huge. And then also there's these all resist nodes, which are great now, it turns out, right? Before, when I said I would never use this board, resistance were not useful at all. But hey, why not? Now we're going to grab a ton of res here. Look at that. We've got almost 12 all res just from this board. We're putting versatility in here to boost up all these magic nodes. More res, more damage. And then we're coming down and grabbing one of my favorite boards, No Witness. The No Witness board, again, just like always, we're throwing efficacy in. It is the most efficient use of just a very small amount of Paragon points to get huge maximum life, huge double additive damage here, 42% double additive. And then we're grabbing some other life nodes here. Next, Eldritch Bounty, which we are grabbing the legendary node for. This is a 20% multiplicative boost to your poison damage. And here is a control. We're using control here for extra damage to crowd control, which is going into our close quarters combat. And you can see grabbing that. We have enough dexterity to get the additional boost here to non-physical damage. That's going to be all additive for our poison imbuement. And then last but not least, we're going to Deadly Ambush with the Bane glyph for big damage and the percent chance to double your damage. And then just grabbing a couple nodes along the way. So there's the Paragon board. That is all of that explained. And now the last thing is going to be the seasonal Vampiric Powers and what we're using and why. So here we're going to start off Undying. This is completely replacing our Siphoning Strike. We do not need Siphoning Strike anymore because of Undying. It's an insane survivability skill. I am going to miss this so much once the season is over. Please, Blizzard, give Rogue something better than Siphoning Strike to heal. Maybe I'll have to find it in Andariel's. But Undying is insane. It costs 1 pack. You want this on your build. Ravenous, huge boost to your attack speed. You saw we were running movement speed on our amulet and our boots. This is why. Lucky Hit, up to 20% chance to increase your attack speed by 40% of your total movement speed for 6 seconds. Right now, that is a 65% attack speed boost. Insane. Prey on the Weak. This is great for a couple of reasons. You get increased damage to vulnerable enemies, but also your Vampiric Curse makes the enemy vulnerable. So we're not using the glyph that makes everything vulnerable anymore. So we have Prey on the Weak, which combines with our Accursed Touch, which is a 33% chance on Lucky Hit to inflict the Vampiric Curse. And then each afflicted enemy has a 15% chance to spread it. So your Vampiric Curse is spreading like wildfire, and then everything it's spreading to is being vulnerable. Great combination, and a lot of this stuff is based on Lucky Hit. This is why we're stacking that Lucky Hit. Put it everywhere we can. We're grabbing Lucky Hit. Forget crit. We don't care about it anymore. And then Flowing Veins is just a huge damage boost to our damage over time on enemies that are moving or affected by a vampiric curse, which thanks to a cursed touch, everything is pretty much going to be cursed. So this is how we do our insane damage. We're running combo points. The rotation on the skill is going to be every 1 to 2 punctures to Twisting Blades. When you're just general farming. For bosses, you can build up to 3 combo points before using your Twisting Blades, and you want to make sure that it's poison imbued. And there's the build. The rogue is faster, more deadly, and just as tanky as before in Season 2, regardless of the changes to the damage over time. This build is going to do everything you want in the game and more. I'm hopeful that we'll get some additional challenges coming soon. Maybe in Season 2, maybe in Season 3 that we'll take down together. But I hope you all enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next video.